Have you ever looked at your life and felt like you were staring into a mirror that never changes? No matter how many times you try to break free, the same reflections keep showing up, similar people, similar challenges. Even the same emotions looping back around. It feels as if you're trapped inside a quantum mirror, where your own attention keeps bouncing the same reality back at you. And here's the truth: you are not here by accident. If these words reached you, it means your observer loop is at its breaking point. You've been living inside an invisible script, repeating the same storylines without realizing the deeper mechanics behind them. Every déjà vu, every strange synchronicity, every time you whisper to yourself, "I've been here before," these are not coincidences. They are signals, warnings, invitations. You were guided here because you carry the key to end the loop. But here's the paradox. The key isn't about pushing harder, thinking more, or controlling everything around you. That's exactly how the loop traps you, keeping your focus fixed on the same identity, the same patterns, the same timeline collapse. What if I told you that the way out has nothing to do with forcing reality, but everything to do with letting go? That there is a hidden switch, one that most people never find, because they are too busy staring into the same mirror, waiting for it to change? In this message, you'll discover what that hidden switch is, why your loop has lasted this long, and how your quantum shift begins the very moment you decide. The loop ends now. What if your life is not random, but written by an invisible script? A script that quietly directs who you meet, what you feel, and even how you react without you realizing it. Like an actor who keeps performing the same role, you follow the stage directions unconsciously. The lines are familiar, the scenes repeat, and even when you think you've made a different choice, the story bends back to the same ending. This invisible script is not written in books or carved into stone. It lives in your patterns, your subconscious beliefs, your memories, and the frequency you emit. It's like a program running in the background of your mind, one that keeps pulling you into déjà vu moments and recycled timelines. You wake up thinking, "Today will be different." Yet by nightfall, it feels like you've relived yesterday. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how certain challenges keep circling back? The same type of relationship, the same financial struggles, the same inner conflict that haunts you no matter how much you work on yourself. That's not coincidence. That's the script. And here's the secret. This script only works as long as you don't see it. It thrives in invisibility. But the moment you notice the pattern, the moment you say, "I've seen this scene before," you've already cracked part of the code. Awareness is the first cut in the fabric of the loop. The truth is, you were never meant to keep repeating. You were meant to recognize the script, to step out of the role, and to choose a new stage. The loop ends not when the script changes, but when you stop acting it out. Imagine standing on a dark stage. Nothing exists until a single spotlight turns on. Wherever the light moves, that part of the stage becomes real. This is the essence of the observer effect. Your attention is the quantum spotlight that collapses potential into reality. Science has already shown us that particles behave differently when they are observed. They don't decide their form until someone is watching. The same principle applies to your life. Every time you focus on fear, lack, or limitation, you shine your light on those timelines. And because energy follows attention, that is the version of reality that solidifies around you. The observer effect is not abstract, it is happening in every thought, every judgment, every story you tell yourself. Think about when you constantly expect disappointment. Somehow, situations line up to prove you right, not because the world is against you, but because your spotlight is pointed at that outcome. You collapse reality into that scene again and again. Now, here's the hidden trap. If you keep observing from the same identity, you will collapse the same experiences The spotlight is powerful, but it's limited by where you aim it. Most people unknowingly keep shining it on the old script, the old self, the old loop. That's why the stage of their life looks the same year after year. The observer effect shows you that your awareness is not passive, it is creative. You are not simply watching reality unfold. You are directing the spotlight that decides which scene becomes your truth. And when you learn to shift your focus, you don't just see a new reality, you activate it. How do you know you are caught inside the observer loop? The signs are subtle. Yet once you see them, they are impossible to ignore. The first sign is déjà vu, those strange moments where you whisper to yourself, "I've lived this before." Déjà vu is not just a glitch in memory, it is the echo of a recycled timeline. It is your higher self signaling. Pay attention. This scene has repeated too many times. The second sign is repeating synchronicities. At first, synchronicities feel magical numbers, aligning, chance encounters, symbols showing up. But when the same ones repeat endlessly without leading to change, they are no longer signs of progress but signals of the loop. It's like being nudged by the universe again and again because you haven't yet shifted the script. The third sign is the familiar emotional cycle. No matter what happens on the outside, you keep landing in the same feelings: abandonment, frustration, scarcity, unworthiness, different faces, different circumstances, but the emotional frequency is identical. This is how the loop hides itself. By changing the costumes while keeping the same role alive, these three signal déjà vu. Repeating synchronicities and emotional recycling are invitations, not punishments. They are the quantum breadcrumbs pointing you toward awareness. They whisper, "Notice this. Break the pattern. Step out of the scene." The truth is, the loop cannot survive once you recognize its signs. Awareness disrupts the repetition. Every time you catch yourself and say, "Wait, I've been here before," you weaken the script's hold. The signs of the loop are not traps. They are exit doors disguised as warnings. Every moment of your life begins as a field of infinite possibilities. Countless timelines stretch out before you, each one waiting to be chosen. But here's the paradox. Only one version can solidify into your lived reality. This process is called collapse. When possibility crystallizes into form, think of it like standing in front of a giant ocean of waves. Each wave represents a potential outcome. Until you focus, all the waves coexist, but the instant you observe, your focus collapses one wave into reality, while the others fade into the unseen. This is not just theory, it's the very mechanics of how consciousness interacts with the quantum field. Yet here's the hidden trap. Most people collapse reality into the same wave again and again. Why? Because their observation never changes. They shine the same spotlight of attention, fueled by the same beliefs, onto the same outcomes. So, while infinite possibilities exist, their lived life feels painfully narrow. They keep drawing water from the same tiny stream, forgetting that the ocean is still there. This is why so many feel stuck. It's not that other paths don't exist, it's that they never collapse into them. Reality is not limiting you. Your focus is. Until you shift the frequency of your observation, collapse will always favor the old script. But here's the empowering truth. Collapse is not final. In every moment, the field resets. The ocean of possibility never runs dry, which means the very next observation you make has the power to redirect your entire timeline. One shift in focus can collapse a completely new reality into form. Why does reality seem to repeat itself? Even when you try to change? The answer is simple. Frequency determines collapse. Your observation is not neutral, it carries the vibration of your beliefs, emotions, and identity. And as long as that frequency stays the same, the collapse will deliver the same outcome. Think of it like tuning into a radio station. no matter how much you wish for different music. As long as you stay on the same frequency, the same song keeps playing. You can move cities, change jobs, or meet new people, but if your internal frequency doesn't shift, the song of your life will sound painfully familiar. This is why people feel trapped in cycles. They leave one toxic relationship only to attract another. They escape one financial struggle only to fall into a similar one. It's not fate working against them, it's resonance. The universe simply echoes the signal they continue to broadcast. Here's the hidden truth. Observation is not just about where you look, but also how you look. If you look at life through the lens of fear, scarcity, or unworthiness, those frequencies color the collapse. The spotlight of awareness doesn't just illuminate reality, it filters it, and the filter determines which version of reality becomes solid. The key, then, is not to fight the collapse, but to shift the frequency behind it. When you change the vibration of your observation from fear to trust, from lack to abundance, you don't just see new possibilities. You collapse into them. The stage doesn't change because you demand it. It changes because you finally tune into a higher song. Imagine holding a piece of holographic glass, even if it shatters. Every fragment still contains the image of the whole. But here's the strange part. When you keep looking through the same broken shard, you only see a distorted version of the same picture again and again. This is how the loop tricks you. Life keeps presenting new faces, new situations, new settings, but underneath, the same image repeats. You think you've stepped into something different, but in truth, you're staring at the same hologram through another crack. The illusion of variety hides the reality of repetition. That's why certain struggles feel so familiar. The context changes, but the pattern persists. One relationship ends, another begins. Yet the same pain surfaces. One job ends, another starts. But the same frustration returns. You're not cursed, you're simply looking through the same piece of broken glass. And here's the deeper truth. As long as you hold on to that shard, your observation filters reality through the fracture. You collapse into distortions that reflect the same core frequency. The hologram cannot show you a new image until you put down the shard and choose a different lens. This is why awareness is liberation. When you finally realize, wait, this isn't new, it's the same pattern in disguise. You stop being fooled by the broken reflection. You recognize the loop, and recognition is the first crack in the illusion. The world is not broken glass. It is an infinite hologram of possibilities. But you must be willing to release the shard of the past to see the fullness of the image. Only then can collapse reveal a reality beyond repetition. Most people think of time as a straight line, past, present, future, one direction. No return. But in truth, time behaves more like ripples on water. Every action, every choice, every emotion sends out waves across the quantum field. These ripples spread, overlap, and sometimes circle back to meet you again. Think of a pebble dropped into a pond. The rings expand outward, but they also interact, bouncing off the edges, colliding with other ripples. Time works the same way. When you make a choice, you don't just move forward, you send a vibration into the field, and that vibration eventually returns, carrying the imprint of the energy that created it. This is why you sometimes feel like the past is bleeding into the present. Old emotions resurface. Familiar situations repeat. It's not random, it's the ripple effect of timelines you've already set in motion. Until you change the vibration you are sending, the ripples will keep circling back, reflecting the same energy over and over. The illusion of a linear timeline makes you believe you're stuck walking down one path, but the ripple view reveals something liberating. You are standing in the middle of a living, vibrating field, where every new choice can send out a fresh wave, and just like dropping a new stone into the water, One shift in frequency creates ripples that can overwrite the old ones. Time is not a rigid line, it is a fluid ocean. And once you see it as ripples instead of chains, you begin to realize that the loop you thought was unbreakable is nothing more than a wave waiting to be redirected. Have you ever felt like time bent around you, speeding up, slowing down, or even skipping? These are what I call glitches in time. They are cracks in the illusion of linear reality. Moments where the loop becomes visible. Sometimes you look at the clock and hours have vanished in what felt like minutes. Other times, a single hour stretches endlessly, as if reality itself has slowed to a crawl. And then there are those uncanny moments where events feel out-of-order, conversations that echo before they happen, memories that don't quite match the present, or places that feel strangely familiar even if you've never been there. These glitches are not accidents. They are signals from the quantum field, showing you that time is not fixed. Instead of being a straight line, it is flexible, elastic, and woven from frequency. When you notice a glitch, it's as if the universe is pulling back the curtain, whispering, "Pay attention. The script is breaking." Most people dismiss these experiences as imagination or coincidence, but those who are awakening know better. A glitch in time is not a malfunction, it is an invitation. It means the loop is loosening, the pattern is unstable, and a window of possibility is opening. If you've ever felt these distortions, don't brush them aside. Pause, observe, ask yourself, what frequency am I in right now? What is this moment trying to reveal? Because glitches are not random, they are guideposts, showing you that the rigid timeline is an illusion, and that reality is ready to shift. When glitches appear, when déjà vu intensifie, when time ripples back on itself, you are standing at the edge of the shift. This edge is not a place outside of you. It is a threshold inside your consciousness. It's the point where the old loop weakens and the possibility of a new timeline becomes available. Think of it like standing on a shoreline. Behind you, the waves of the past crash again and again, familiar and relentless. Ahead of you, the ocean of possibility stretches wide and open. The edge is the in-between, the liminal zone where you feel both the weight of repetition and the pull of transformation. This is why the edge often feels uncomfortable. Your nervous system senses the instability. You may feel restless, anxious, or even disoriented. That's because part of you is still clinging to the old script, while another part of you is already leaning toward the unknown. The tension you feel is not a sign of failure, it's proof you're at the doorway of the shift. Here's the secret. The edge doesn't last forever. The field will demand a choice. You can retreat into the comfort of the familiar loop, or you can step forward into the uncertainty of the new frequency. The moment you consciously choose, the collapse happens, the ripple redirects, the loop breaks. So when you find yourself at the edge, don't fear it. Recognize it, declare it, because the edge is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of the shift that will rewrite it. For so long, you've been told that the observer effect is the key to creating reality. Focus on what you want. Shine the spotlight of attention, and the quantum field will collapse into your chosen scene. And yes, this is true up to a point. But here's the hidden truth almost no one speaks about. The observer effect alone cannot free you from the loop. Why? Because observation itself is still filtered through your identity. If you are observing from the same self, the same lens, the same vibration, you will collapse into the same experiences. No matter how hard you focus on something different, the loop doesn't break just because you are watching. It breaks only when the watcher changes. This is the trap that keeps so many seekers stuck. They try to visualize harder, affirm louder, and control their focus with iron discipline. And yet, life still feels like repetition. They wonder, why am I collapsing the same outcomes even when I'm consciously observing? The answer is simple, because the old self is still holding the spotlight. The observer effect is powerful, but it is not the final switch. It is only the doorway. The true shift happens when you step beyond the observer you've been, when you stop collapsing reality through the identity of the loop. Only then can you access the field from a new frequency, one untouched by the script. So the shocking truth is this: the observer effect isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of realizing that you are not just the spotlight, you are the one who can choose to become a new observer altogether. Here's the real reason the loop keeps repeating. It isn't because reality is broken, or because the universe is against you. The loop continues because you keep holding on to the old self. Think of the self as a costume. Every thought, every belief, every story you carry is part of that outfit. And as long as you keep wearing it, the script recognizes you and pulls you back onto the same stage. You may change the scenery or the characters, but as long as the costume stays the same, the role doesn't change. This is why people often say, "Why does this always happen to me?" It's because me hasn't changed. The loop isn't happening to you, it's happening through you. Sustained by the identity you refuse to release. Your fears, your expectations, your old emotional patterns, they act as anchors, holding you inside the old timeline. And here's the hardest truth. Sometimes we cling to the old self because it feels safe. Even if it's painful, it's familiar. The mind tells you, "At least I know this version of me. Who will I be without it?" That fear of stepping into the unknown is the glue that keeps the loop intact. But the loop has no power of its own. It is only fueled by your grip on the old self. The moment you loosen that grip, even for a breath, the loop begins to unravel. Reality is not forcing you to repeat. Your attachment is, and when you finally choose to let go, the script has nothing left to hold on to. If the loop is sustained by holding on to the old self, then the key to breaking it is not more control. It is letting go. This is the paradox of the quantum shift. The doorway opens not when you grip tighter, but when you release the identity that keeps collapsing reality into the same script. Think of it like trying to cross into a new world while carrying heavy baggage. The doorway is narrow. No matter how badly you want to step through, you can't squeeze in while holding everything from the past. The moment you set the baggage down, you realize the doorway was never locked. It was only your attachment that kept you out. Letting go doesn't mean you lose yourself. It means you release the version of you that was built for the loop, the fears, the labels, the repetitive emotions. Those are costumes, not your essence. When you lay them down, what remains is pure awareness, free to collapse reality from a new frequency. And here's the hidden magic. The instant you let go, the timeline shifts, the field does not delay. Collapse responds immediately to the frequency of surrender. One breath of release, one conscious declaration of, "I no longer carry this." And the loop loses its anchor. You step into coherence with a reality that was always waiting for you. So the secret isn't to fight harder or observe longer. The secret is surrender. Because only when you release the old self can the quantum field show you the timeline beyond the loop. One of the greatest misunderstandings on the path of awakening is believing that thinking differently is enough to shift reality. We repeat affirmations, visualize new outcomes, and consume endless teachings. And while these practices can open awareness, they do not, by themselves, break the loop. Why? Because thought alone exists on the surface of consciousness. The loop runs deeper in the body, in the nervous system, in the very frequency you embody. Imagine trying to change the movie on a screen by shouting at it. The picture won't change because the projection comes from the real in the back. Thoughts are like your words at the screen. Embodiment is the real itself, the source of what reality projects. If your body still vibrates with fear, scarcity, or old trauma, no matter how much you think positive, the film will keep playing the same loop. This is why so many people get frustrated with spiritual practices. They know the concepts, they repeat the affirmations, but deep down, their breath is shallow, their chest is tight. Their body still carries the memory of old pain. The loop doesn't respond to words, it responds to frequency. And frequency is not what you say, it's what you live. Embodiment means aligning your whole being, mind, body, and energy with the timeline you desire. It's not enough to think, I am free. You must breathe as if you are free, move as if you are free, and allow your nervous system to feel safety and freedom. That's when the collapse changes, because your spotlight of observation is no longer filtered through the old survival patterns. The shift begins the moment thought drops into body, when your breath slows, your heart opens, and your body carries the vibration of the new timeline. Reality has no choice but to reflect it. Embodiment is not an accessory to awakening, it is the bridge. Without it, the mind circles endlessly, in theory. With it, the loop finally breaks. The most powerful shifts often come from the simplest actions. You don't need elaborate rituals or complex techniques to begin collapsing the old frequency. Sometimes, all it takes is 3 conscious breaths. Here's how the practice works. First breath, awareness. Inhale deeply. And as the air fills your lungs, bring your full attention to the loop you've been living. See the old self clearly, the patterns, the emotions, the roles that have kept you bound. Acknowledge them without judgment. This is the breath of awareness, where the invisible script becomes visible. Second breath, release. As you exhale, imagine that with the air leaving your body, the old frequency leaves as well. Feel the weight of outdated beliefs and recycled emotions dissolving. The breath carries them out of your system. This is the breath of letting go the moment you drop the baggage that cannot pass through the doorway of the new timeline. Third breath, embodiment. Inhale again. But this time breathe as if you are already aligned with your highest frequency. Feel the expansion in your chest, the opening in your body, the lightness in your field. Let your posture, your energy, and your awareness embody the self that already lives in the new reality. This is the breath of activation. The moment collapse shifts into a higher timeline. It may sound simple, but don't underestimate the power of this micro practice. Each breath is a command to the quantum field. Awareness, release, embodiment together, they reset your frequency. And because collapse responds instantly to vibration, these 3 breaths are enough to loosen the loop and open the door to new possibilities. Practice it anytime you feel the script repeating. 3 breaths to pause, 3 breaths to reset, 3 breaths to declare, the loop ends now. Words are not just sounds. They are frequencies, commands that instruct the quantum field how to respond. When spoken with full presence, an affirmation is more than a sentence. It is a declaration of sovereignty. Among the most powerful affirmations you can use at the edge of a shift is this one. I end the loop now. Why is this statement so potent? Because it is not about hoping or wishing. It is final. It carries the vibration of completion. When you declare, I end the loop now, you are not asking the universe for permission. You are collapsing reality into alignment with your decision. The loop thrives on hesitation, on the idea that someday I'll change. This affirmation removes the delay. It anchors your frequency in the present moment, where collapse happens instantly. The power of this affirmation grows when it is embodied. Don't just say the words, stand tall as you say them. Place your hand on your heart. Breathe deeply, and feel the vibration reverberate through your entire body. Let your cells hear it. Let your nervous system absorb it. The affirmation then shifts from mental to physical, from words to frequency. Use it in moments when you catch yourself falling into old patterns. Say it when the familiar emotions return, when the déjà vu arises, or when synchronicities repeat without change. Each time you affirm, you slice through the script. weakening its hold. Over time, the loop loses power because you no longer consent to act out the role it offers. "I end the loop now" is not a hope, it is a line drawn in the quantum field. It tells the universe, the past is finished. The script is dissolved. And I step forward free. Say it with conviction. And watch how quickly the collapse begins to shift in your favor. One of the clearest signs that you have stepped out of the loop and into a higher frequency is the sudden appearance of synchronicities. These are not random coincidences, they are alignments. Signals that your inner field and the outer world are finally resonating with each other. At first, they may show up as repeating numbers, 11, 11, 222, 444 appearing on clocks, receipts, or license plates. Then, the synchronicities grow more personal. You think of someone and they call you. You ask a question in your mind, and the answer shows up in a conversation, a book, or even a song lyric. Opportunities align at the exact moment you need them, as if the universe is choreographing events around your vibration. What's happening here is simple. Your shift in frequency changes what the quantum field can collapse into. In the old loop, synchronicities repeated as warnings, echoes of the same cycle. But in the new frequency, synchronicities act as confirmations, breadcrumbs guiding you forward on a fresh timeline. They are the universe's way of saying, yes, you're aligned, keep going. This is why synchronicities feel so alive. They are not just curiosities to notice, but invitations to trust. Each one is a reflection of your coherence with the new reality you're embodying. The more you honor them, the stronger they grow, until your daily life begins to feel less like random chance and more like a living conversation with the universe. When synchronicities flood in, don't dismiss them. Celebrate them. They are proof that you are no longer trapped in the old loop you are co-creating in real time. Aligned with the rhythm of a higher timeline, when you shift into a new frequency, it feels as if a quantum spotlight suddenly turns on. Parts of reality that were once hidden in the dark begin to glow with clarity. You see opportunities you never noticed, pathways you didn't know existed, and connections that feel almost divinely orchestrated. Imagine being in a theater where the stage is pitch black. The actors are there, the scenery is set. But until the spotlight moves, you can't see what's possible. Your consciousness works in the same way. In the old loop, your spotlight was fixed, illuminating the same small scene over and over again. But when you shift frequencies, the light swings outward, revealing an entirely new stage. This is why life after a shift feels so different. The world itself hasn't changed, it's your spotlight that has. You are finally shining awareness onto a part of the quantum field you had never collapsed before. That's why synchronicities appear, why new people arrive, why sudden insights drop into your awareness. They were always there, waiting in the dark, until you turned the light. The quantum spotlight shows you that reality is not created by force but by illumination. What you shine on expands. What you ignore fades. And the more you hold the spotlight on your highest frequency, the more the scene of your life rearranges itself to match it. So, the question is not whether the new timeline exists, it always has. The real question is, where are you pointing your light? Sometimes the body and mind need a physical gesture to seal the shift. That's why a simple ritual can be so powerful. It translates inner intention into outer action. One of the most effective rituals for breaking the loop is the writing and tearing of the old script. Here's how it works. Take a blank sheet of paper. At the top, write the sentence, "This loop ends now." Beneath it, write down the patterns, emotions, or beliefs you recognize as part of your old self. Be honest. Pour onto the page the invisible script that has kept you repeating fear, scarcity, unworthiness, doubt. By writing them, You bring them out of the shadows and into the light. Then comes the critical moment. Read the list aloud. Acknowledge it. Feel the weight of it one last time. And then tear the paper. Rip it into pieces. As you, though, declare again, this loop ends now. Let your body feel the finality of the action. With each tear, imagine the old script unraveling. Its power dissolving with the paper in your hands. This ritual is simple, but don't underestimate its impact. The subconscious loves symbols, and tearing the paper sends a direct message. The old roll is finished. Your nervous system receives the signal that a chapter has closed, and the quantum field responds instantly, collapsing into a new alignment with your declaration. Whenever you feel the loop creeping back, repeat the ritual. Each time you write and tear, you reaffirm your sovereignty. You remind reality, I choose a new script. I live a new timeline. When you end your loop, it doesn't just change your life, it ripples outward into the collective field. This is the essence of morphic resonance, the principle that once a pattern is shifted by one, it becomes easier for others to shift as well. Think of it like a path in the forest. At first, the way is overgrown, tangled, and difficult to walk. But when one person pushes through, the trail becomes visible. When more people follow, the path grows clearer, until eventually it is easy for anyone to walk. Your personal shift is that first path-breaking step. By breaking your loop, you are making it easier for countless others to break theirs. This is why individual awakening is never just about the individual. Every time you embody a new frequency, you add it to the collective memory of humanity. Your declaration of, I end the loop now, doesn't vanish into silence. It vibrates in the field, amplifying the resonance for others who are ready. You may not see the immediate effects, but they are real. Somewhere, someone will suddenly feel the courage to release an old self, not knowing why it feels easier. Somewhere else, a person will recognize their own loop more quickly than before. That ease exists because you walked first, because your shift planted coherence into the field. So never underestimate the power of your own liberation. One person breaking the loop is not small, it is a seed of resonance. And enough seeds grow into a wave that no loop can contain. When one person breaks the loop, the resonance is powerful. But when many begin to shift together, the effect multiplies into a collective timeline shift. Reality itself begins to reorganize not just for individuals, but for entire societies. History has shown us this before. Every great awakening started with a few individuals who embodied a new way of being. Over time, their resonance spread like wildfire until cultures, systems, and even civilizations were reshaped. Think of the abolition of slavery, the rise of human rights, the revolutions in science and technology. Each began with sparks of consciousness that spread until they rewrote the collective story. This is happening again. Now, as more people declare, the loop ends now. The old structures based on fear, scarcity, and control begin to collapse. They cannot hold when enough individuals withdraw their consent to play the old roles. New possibilities emerge. And timelines once considered utopian start to crystallize into reality. You may notice it in subtle ways. Communities forming around compassion instead of competition. Technologies that serve humanity instead of exploiting it. Collective conversations shifting from survival to expansion. These are not accidents, they are the signs of a timeline in transition. The power of the collective is exponential. One shift adds to the resonance, but many shifts together tilt the balance of the field. This is how humanity evolves, not through force, but through coherence. When enough of us end our loops, the world itself steps onto a higher stage, and the timeline we once dreamed of becomes the stage we live on. At first, the journey feels personal. You break your own loop. You release your old self, and you step into a higher frequency, but soon, something greater dawns. Awakening is not just about you, it is about us. The shift from I awaken to we awaken is the true threshold of collective evolution. When you awaken alone, you feel like a single candle in the dark, but when others begin to awaken, those candles multiply into a flame that lights the entire room. This is what the collective shift feels like, an exponential increase in coherence that makes awakening no longer rare, but natural. The I phase is necessary. It teaches you sovereignty, responsibility, and the power of embodiment. But the we phase reveals something even deeper. Consciousness is not separate. Each person who awakens strengthens the resonance for all. Your liberation becomes my liberation, and my embodiment supports yours. This is why community is so essential in this era. When you share your awakening, you amplify it. When you witness another breaking their loop, you remember that you are not alone. Together, we weave a new collective identity not based on fear or division, but on unity, resonance, and expansion. The greatest hope of this timeline is not simply billions of isolated individuals working on themselves. It is billions of souls remembering they are connected, rising together into coherence. This is the destiny of the shift, from the lone I to the awakened we. Now, the loop has no power on its own. It survives only because you keep holding on to the old self, the old script, the old frequency. But the moment you decide to release, the entire structure collapses. The timeline shifts. Reality begins to rearrange itself around the vibration of who you have now chosen to be. Remember this truth: awareness is the first cut, embodiment is the bridge, and declaration is the key. You have already seen the signs of the loop. You have already felt the glitches in time. And now, you stand at the threshold of the shift. The doorway is open, not someday, not in the distant future, but now. This is why your choice matters. You are not just shifting for yourself. Each time you break a loop, you strengthen the resonance for the collective. Your liberation becomes a signal that others can follow, and together, we create a wave of awakening that no system of control can contain. So here is the invitation. Don't leave this message without declaring your shift. Anchor it into the field with words that carry power. I end the loop now. Say it out loud. Write it. Comment it. Let it reverberate through your body and into the quantum field. Your shift is irreversible. The script has lost its hold. The spotlight has turned. You are already stepping into the new timeline. All that remains is to declare it, to claim it, to live it.